attendance. And like last time we did share some phone numbers. It's a choice. If you want to share your phone number, you can write it on this paper. Okay. If you've done it already in the last class, you don't have to repeat it. Okay. So.
For WhatsApp group?
I don't promise you a WhatsApp group, but I'll see. Okay. But I should have your numbers because I do have your numbers in Empower as well. But sometimes you guys change your numbers. So that's why I want to get the one that's active. Okay?
Well, ma'am, for WhatsApp group, you can just send them the link of WhatsApp group.
Yeah. Don't teach me WhatsApp. I know a lot about WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But there are the pros and cons, and that's why I am thinking about it.
Yeah.
I know.
So I thought that way they have the
But whenever
choice.
you communicate with me, you are supposed to give me your name and your roll number in the subject line, okay? And it should be visible all the time. Okay? And of course, like we are professionals, we are in an academic environment, we have to have respect and politeness and professionalism. Professionalism means you don't communicate in the same way that you do communicate with your friends. That's a different kind of communication, okay? So mass comm people can also explain how this works. Hai na?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so now let's start with chapter number 1. What is chapter number 1 about? The name of the chapter is, it's basically an introduction. It's about units of measurement. Okay, so I leave this like this. Acha, can we now shift to the second board?
Okay.
नहीं तो मेरी बात सुनो. अच्छा तुमने उसी के बीच में कर दिया. ठीक है? Focused है. So units of measurement. I'm sure you're all familiar with units of measurement. It's not something new or strange or different, but it's important. I know that some people feel like this chapter is not important, that sometimes skip over this chapter, but I think this chapter is very important because if you don't clarify these concepts, right, then you make mistakes when you're solving the problems later on. Okay. Also, units are used everywhere in the class, in the lab as well, and in your everyday life as well. So can you please give me an example of unit?
Kilogram.
Kilogram. Okay. So kilogram is the unit for
Solid.
for
Solid. Weight. For weight of solid.
for weight. Anyone else? We're in a physics class. We're in a science class. You know, there are some terminologies that we mix up colloquially when we speak in everyday life, but in science we have to use the exact terms. So there's a mistake here. Try to find out the mistake. Can anyone point out what's the mistake? Kilogram is the unit for? Come on. Mass. So what was the mistake? What was the mistake?
Terminology.
Huh? What was the terminology that was wrong?
Weight.
Weight and mass are not the same. What's the difference? Scientifically, weight and mass are not the same. Although in everyday life, we do mix the two. Hai na? So for example, when I ask you what's your weight, you will tell me dash and dash. I don't know if you want to tell me, but dash and dash kg. But actually he's telling me his mass. But in everyday life we just count it as weight. But when we are in a science class and a physics class, we have to use the right terminology. We have to understand the difference. What's the difference between weight and mass? Huh? Terminology ke alawa. How do we define weight? Gravity is pulling a mass with a certain force, and that is called weight. Okay? So weight, mass is a fixed quantity, weight is not a fixed quantity.
Ma'am, this is not for attendance.
It is for attendance. Both, दोनों काम हो रहे हैं.
मिस नंबर आपको पहली क्लास में दिया.
फिर ठीक है, don't repeat it, it's fine. You don't have to worry, but there are some new people, that's why I asked them. Okay? Okay, so we understand the difference with the symbol for mass is kg. Try to understand the terminologies.
M.
This is the quantity, then the symbol, and then the unit. And then the symbol small letter. And sometimes we also use Greek symbols. You know that. Okay? We will come to that. And let's clarify the difference between these simple terms. You don't have to be worried about it. I know it's your first class, okay? But as you go into the course, you get comfortable, and please do study at least 1 hour in the evening, okay? So you have this in your book. Another example?
Energy.
Length. Length, okay. Length. Okay, so what's the unit?
Meter.
Meter. What's the symbol?
M.
Ab dekh lo. This M is for the meter, and this M is for the mass. Okay? Okay, so there's a table in your book. If you open this is page number. कौन सा page है? Page number 6. The first chapter, page number 6. You have table 1.1. So you can see it from there. Okay, length is again a very basic quantity, right? For example, if I ask you, did you drive to the campus today?
Yes.
How much distance did you cover? 2-3 kilometer. Okay, if I say kilometer, how do I write kilometer? Like this? So, again, I would like to introduce you to the fact that we have a number of systems of units, right? So, the standard system of units that we accept and use scientifically is known as the SI system. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
System.
The system international.
International.
Okay, so in scientific books, in scientific work, the work that you do in the lab, the work that you will be doing in most of the course will be based on System International. So according to System International, we have defined the units for every quantity, and that's what we use. So meter is the unit of length in the System International. Kilometer is used in everyday life, it's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not the System International fundamental unit. It's a product. We'll talk about that later. You know, also, for example, okay, let me ask someone, what's your height?
5'3".
5'3" what? Does it make sense if you say 5'3"? You expect me to understand it. But scientifically, what would you tell me? 5 what? If you're not telling me the units, it can be anything. 5 what? Centimeters?
Feet.
5.3 inches.
जो भी हाँ शायद
हाँ बोलो.
inches I guess.
5
I'm not sure ma'am. Okay.
Anyone else who would like to answer this question? Yes, to Fezan. Let's talk to Fezan. Chalo.
5 feet 3 inches.
What she's saying is 5 feet 3 inches. So if you're not telling me the unit, I can make a mistake. And this mistake can be very harmful or dangerous or consequential in many things, है ना? ठीक है ना? So when we're working with scientific instruments, if we're making such a mistake, it can be very costly. Even in real life, for example, when I go to buy fruit, I have to tell him how much fruit I want. What will I tell him? I want how many apples? 1 kg. Okay. When I go to buy jewelry, for example, can I say I want 1 kg of jewelry? What's the unit I'll be using there? Yeah, a very small unit. So that's the context. When you were talking about kilometers because it was a longer distance and meters was a smaller unit, although it is the standard. We can convert it. What is kilometer? Kilometer is equal to 10 raised to 3 meters. This is equal to 1000 meters. Similarly, like when I'm buying fruit, I will buy it in kgs. But when I'm buying jewelry, I cannot buy jewelry in kgs.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why, especially in Lahore, why do they buy oranges not in kg but
By the dozen.
dozen? Yes.
That's very interesting. Okay, so this is not really a unit question. It's not a matter of units. They have to set the price for something. Okay, so they try to find a convenient way of selling their product. And normally, like in Lahore, maybe in Balochistan, you don't have it like that. You sell it by the kg.
Yes.
Yeah, there are some places in the world where they do.
Not really bananas also.
Bananas are also by the by dozen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by
They are
dozens.
never in kgs.
They are never in kgs.
But there's also the thing in Rajasthan that, I mean, this is by dozens bananas.
Bananas are by
Yes,
dozen.
but it was a culture shock for me to see that they sell oranges by dozens.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Okay, good. So, any other example of units? What other quantity can we talk about? There are some standard quantities. Time. The quantity is time. The quantity is time. And the unit is? And the symbol is? S. Again, I will refer you to this table. You have these units here. Okay? Similarly, you have the unit for temperature. The unit for temperature is? किसे बोला है साहिब? कौन बोला? आप बोलो. Okay, so the unit is Kelvin. If you have a fever, how will you measure your temperature? What's the normal body temperature? आजकल तो we are checking the temperature every day. हाँ जी. 99 what?
Fahrenheit.
Yeah. It's 99 what? Degree what?
No. 37 degrees Celsius, and I think Fahrenheit or Kelvin must probably.
So the units for temperature, we have the Fahrenheit, we have the Celsius, and we have the Kelvin. The scientific system uses Kelvin. Generally we use Celsius, but in Pakistan we are using Fahrenheit. In some countries we are not using Fahrenheit, we are using Celsius. And therefore when you buy the thermometer, you can buy the thermometer that gives you in Fahrenheit, you can buy the thermometer that will give you in Celsius, and there are some thermometers in which you have both. But then again, for scientific study we need to use